Have you ever heard the phrase like, don't believe the hype, right? You see something and it's trending and it's going crazy and people always die down like, it ain't that cool, or that car ain't that fast, or, it wasn't that good, right? God hit me with something the other day and I said, ooh, this is good. This is good. God said, don't believe the size. Don't miss that. Let me bring that back. God hit me the other day and he said, don't believe the size. What do I mean by that? A lot of times we know God is nudging us towards something. He's calling us towards something. He's been chiseling, right, for us to take a step. But when we look at the size of something, we say, ooh, God, I trust you. I know who you are. I know what you can do. But God, this thing is big. This, like, God, it's gonna take you in some man and some platforms and some extra money and some stuff that, God, I don't really think that you have in your resources to pull this off. And God told me, he said, don't believe the size. When we look at big things, we should not look at a big thing and say, dang, God, look at how big that is. No, we should look at big things and say, okay, God, I'm ready for a miracle. Okay, God, I'm ready for you to go beyond my understanding. That right there is the obstacle to all of your growth. Yes, that right there is the obstacle to all of your growth. Here's why. Because when we look at big things, we try to fit God into our understanding. Baby, it does not work that way. It does not work that way. God does not move at the pace of your understanding, right? That's why the scriptures say, set your mind on the things above. He says, concentrate on his word. God is tremendous. He's magnificent. He's almighty. He's above all. He doesn't spend his time down here trying to understand us. We need to spend our time up there trying to understand him. That is when you start to do grand things. Why? Because you're expanding. We're not gonna expand focusing on our limited resources. God, if you could just understand my situation. God, if you could just understand that they always gossiping. God, if you could just understand. God does understand. And I say that with full confidence. When you say, well, why so? Because of Jesus. That's why. If he didn't understand, he would have kept Jesus seated at the right hand and said, hey, they done screwed it up. Let them figure it out on his own. He said, no, you know what? I'm going to go down there. I'm going to send you as a child so that they could be without excuse. So when we see big things, do not look at the size of the thing and say, God, I don't know. You got to understand, Jesus came in a manger, the savior of the entire world. It was prophesied about years and years and years and years and years before he arrived. And people was like, yo, God's going to stop the world and it's going to be this huge miracle and it's going to be this big crazy thing. And then the world is going to be redeemed. And they didn't even know. But okay, why do I mention all of that? Because God does not worry about size. We do. If God was worried about size, he would have sent a Goliath down here to save the world. But what did he send? A baby in a manger that was, from the sight of man, had the worst conditions. The Savior of the world had problems being brought into the world. They didn't have an end for the Savior of the world. God is not concerned with conditions. We are conditioned to only focus on conditions. Don't miss that. We are conditioned to only focus on conditions. And we bring that conditioning to God. And God is saying, hey, I'm not concerned with size. He created large and small. God is not concerned with size. And he says, don't be fooled by the size. From now on, I'm going to challenge you spiritually, mentally, financially, relationally. I want you to start looking at the size and say, okay, God, I trust you to meet me in the middle. Now, I'm not saying don't be wise. I'm not saying don't be diligent, right? But what I am saying is we need to be like the little shepherd boy that when he saw Goliath, he said, wait a minute. Now, granted, Goliath was this huge, gigantic opponent. But you see the shepherd, he never mentioned the size. You know what he mentioned? He said the same God, God's not worried about size. He said the same God that was with me when I slayed the bears and the lions will be the same God that will slay this. He wasn't concerned with size. And the moment that we get past trying to fit God and his workings and his righteous right hand in the constraints of our understanding, then mountains will start to move, right? Because we look at God to do whatever to the conditions, but we cannot look at the conditions and say, God, can you move this? Can you do this? Is this too big for you? And it won't. You won't see things moved. You won't see vision restored. You won't see hope be found. You won't see faith be taken to new heights, because we have been conditioned to only see conditions, and we take that conditioning to God. God says, do not be fooled by the size. Look, I'm praying that you start praying big prayers. And I'm talking about prayers that you kind of stutter a little bit when you pray it. I'm talking about prayers that, you're not sure about when you pray. And that's okay. Honestly, that's a great place to be, because it's an indicator that I'm moving beyond what I can understand. When we start to pray stuff that we're a little bit afraid to pray, it indicates I'm moving beyond my comfort zone in everything that I can understand at this moment. That is when you experience growth. Look, do not believe the size. I'm praying for your new normal. Send this video to somebody you know who needs it. Look, you be blessed. Start praying big prayers. Until next time, peace.